Because if you could have a slightly less polarized media and people had some form of common culture that they went to, it would be really interesting. Late night in the US, okay, that's where they have most of their political satire. Late night television, they've got a big tradition of it. It means less and less, these shows, and the podcasters bizarrely mean much more and more. But these guys who front these shows, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel cried. Jimmy Kimmel cried in his opening monologue.
Wow.
He said about Trump, he has a list of enemies. You think I'm not on it? I don't think you're in the top 9 million. I mean, what? What are you talking about?
I mean, you're a white guy for a start.
Yeah, the reaction was funnier than the shows. But this is a phenomenon that I first sort of thought, oh my gosh, because I've always been interested in late night. I've read a ton of books about it. I was always fascinated by those Letterman, Leno years, all of that stuff. But those late night shows used to be watched by everybody. All sorts of different voters would watch those types of shows. In that, there was that common culture. It was, anyone can collapse on a sofa late at night and watch this thing. I remember watching John Oliver's show in the week, last week tonight, in the week after the first show after the Trump victory in 2016. And it was like this whole post-apocalyptic thing. And I just thought, oh, I see. Like, you don't think that anyone who doesn't share your politics or whatever watches your show. And you're probably right. It's just assumed that no one who would think, well, actually, hang on a second, my side won.
I think, by the way, they're absolutely allowed to do that, and the generation of comedy writers who enjoy doing that sort of thing and people who love watching it. The only mistake is the category error is to think it might make any sort of difference in an election campaign, to think that those shows, to think that people taking a pot shot at Trump to that audience is going to make any difference at all. It's, by the way, a great thing to do. You have to tell truth to power. You have to, you have to pick up on things. You have to, satire still has to exist. You have to do great jokes about people. But we have gone beyond an era where the signifiers as to who is going to win an election or who is being listened to when people decide to win an election has completely changed. I mean, it's changed gradually, and now it doesn't exist anymore.
They are not on TV.
It is eroded, absolutely. Yeah. I was speaking to the person who I always think has been so far ahead of the curve on all this, a guy called Professor Alan Finlayson, who's at the University of East Anglia, who's brilliant, and for years was saying to me, it is all online. He's saying this 10 years ago. He said there's an assumption, sometimes on the left, there's an assumption that idiots are being lied to, that's how elections are won, by bad actors lying to people who are gullible. And he said, absolutely, and by the way, Alan Finlayson is a lefty. I mean, he's fairly unreconstructed, but he said the opposite is true. He said people are so desperate for actual information. That's what people want to make sense of the world. They're fed a news cycle where everything is being updated all the time. Where it's always what's the new thing, what's the new thing, what's the new thing. And there's this hunger, this hollowness inside that says, no, but I want to understand the world. What are the forces that make us who we are? And that explains on two sides. One, the success of something like The Rest is History, which is two historians like doing really, really long-form explanations of things that happened a long time ago and is a phenomenon. And it also explains conspiracy theories, which is people saying to you, this is why the world is as it is. Here is a complicated version of why the world exists in the way it does. It's because people want to be told stuff. People want to be informed. And the conspiracy theorists, the people on the right and right-wing agitators have really, really taken advantage of that. And, Joe Rogan's podcasts, they're 3 hours long sometimes.
Yeah.
People in this culture where everything is quick, everything is super fast turnaround, want context. And they're being given context. And if you're not giving them context as well, then someone else is. And that's the place where elections are won now. They are not won. The Channel 4 American election show, and you have to feel for all of these channels because, they're sort of fighting a 21st century battle with 20th century weapons. And, I think the head of ITN said, what, we want people who are divisive. We do want that. No one wants to listen to someone bland. And the truth is, people want to listen to someone who has something to say, something interesting, something unusual to say, and not about the thing that just happened, but about the world, why we live in a certain world, why certain people get paid certain amounts of money, why we have elections every 4 years, why there are 2 political parties and not 30. People want to understand the context of the society they live in. They do not want to see Sean Spicer and Boris Johnson arguing with Krishnan Guru Murthy. I mean, they just don't. A very small amount of people do. All of them are our age and above. But actually, if you want to influence people, you want to influence society, you want to influence elections, it is happening in a completely different place now.